Welcome to the Spheres of Spirit with Nancy Myers, aka the Lady of the Light. Nancy will discuss the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit which surrounds each of us, waiting to be discovered. She will share some of her remarkable orb photos, proving that our angels, guides, loved ones in spirit, and even pets surround us and guide us in our physical world. During this episode, Nancy will discuss one of the many spheres or aspects of spirit available to us based on her orb photography. She will also share a special channeled message from her guide, Leonini, and do an oracle card reading to help guide you along your personal spiritual adventure. And now, here is your host, orb photographer, author, medium, and speaker, Nancy Myers.
Hi there. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Nancy Myers, and we do discuss on this show the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit. So with that being said, this, my second episode, we are going to talk about signs. The signs that we get from the spirit world and the signs that we receive from the higher realms. So I'm going to talk about what signs are. How do we recognize signs from spirit? And why is spirit even sending us signs? So let me start with what are signs? Signs can be a lot of things, but I'll stay with some of the stuff that is kind of a common way to let us know that spirit is with us. Some of the signs that I've had experience with are feathers, coins, bugs, birds, numbers, music, of course, orbs, but even aromas, plus so many more. So why do we get these things from spirit? For many reasons. It's because, number one, we live in a physical world. So when we ask spirit, do you hear me? When we ask our loved ones, are you with me? Do you know what I'm doing? Do you know how much I love you? Can you send me a sign? We ask that a lot. Could you please send me a sign? And those signs come in the many forms that I just described. But they choose these signs, again, because we live in a physical world, so they send us physical signs. These physical signs are things that are put in our path when we least or aren't necessarily looking for it. So who sends us these signs? So if I could have my first slide, please. Now, for those of you listening, I'm going to show a photo here of one of my very favorite orbs that I have captured. It's a big white orb, and this is available on my site, The Orb Connection, if you want to also go back at another time and look at it a little more closely. But I call this my God orb, and it's the only one I've ever captured in the 12 years I have been doing orb photography. For those of you, again, that are listening, it's a big white orb, and it kind of has a stripe through it. But if you look closely at the stripe, what I see, again, with my spirit vision, is I'm reminded of the image on the Sistine Chapel where God is pointing his finger down from the heavens. And I think the image is Adam is pointing his finger and touching God's finger, and it's where we meet. So that is why I call this my God orb. But anyway, the image that I put and match up with the sayings is this one from Albert Einstein. And he said, coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. So who sends it to us? Who sends these signs to us? It comes again from the spiritual realm, from the divine. And why do they send it to us? Again, because we ask, they respond. They send it to us to communicate. They send it to us to help us with direction. And they send it to us as confirmation. Now, here's the kicker. Again, you cannot go looking for these signs. In other words, let's say, one of your signs is a heart rock. And every time you see a heart rock, you know that that's from your loved ones. Well, if you go in a rock garden and start looking for the rock, and find one, you go, oh, it's a sign from my loved ones. Well, it could be. I'm not one to say it's not. But it's when you least expect it. It's when it's put in a path where you don't normally find something like that. So I have a couple of stories that I'd like to share with you about when you know it's signs. So I had a client, and I do angel oracle card readings. And sometimes when I do angel oracle card readings, loved ones of my client in spirit will step in, and I'll ask my client, would you like me to bring forth your loved one? And so I had this young lady in front of me, and her grandmother stepped in, and I said, your grandmother's here. Would you like me to give you the communication that she's giving me? And she said, yes, of course. So I started with the communication, and I was giving her the messages from her grandmother, validating that it was indeed her. And I said, oh, by the way, your grandmother says her sign from you, or for you, that she's around you, is a ladybug. And she just kind of looked at me and smiled and said, okay, thank you. So she texted me later that night, and she was all excited. It was around dinner time, and she was changing her clothes to go out to dinner. And the message started out with OMG, OMG, OMG. And so she said, you're not going to believe this. Well, I have to tell you, if you start with that, oh, you're not going to believe this with me, I say, yes, I am. I believe anything that spirit is capable of. But anyway, she was so excited. She said, Nancy, she said, I was changing my clothes. I took my blouse off, and there on my shoulder, in my house, in my bathroom, was a ladybug. So, I mean, talk about confirmation. Now, is that a place you would expect, a ladybug to be under your clothes in your house? No. So that was definitely from her grandmother. One of my signs from my guardian angel, and I'll get into how you can find your signs, are feathers. And again, you can't go looking for these feathers, but my guardian angel, communicates with me so readily. And I know if I ask her a question, she's going to answer me with feathers. So I'll ask her, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I going the right way? Did I make the right decision? I need to know, confirmation, direction, right? Could you please leave a feather for me somewhere? And I'll ask that question. And I did the other day. And I asked the question, and I saw the mailman come to the mailbox. So I went, oh, I'm going to go out and get the mail. And I opened the front door, and there on the porch was a gigantic black, I think it was a raven feather. Again, I wasn't looking on my porch for the feather, but there was the feather. That's the confirmation. That's how spirit can get through to us to let us know, I heard you. Yes, here's your answer. The physical objects that we leave for you are confirmation that we are with you. So again, feathers. One night, and this one it was during the day. I was having a really rough time, and I was out in my backyard and talking to my spirit guides, and I just looked up in the heavens, and I said, do you hear me? Can you help me? And at that exact moment, a hawk feather, and there wasn't a hawk around. I don't know where this came from, but a hawk feather, I could see it in the sky. And I saw it floating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and landed at my feet. Now, that is undeniable to me that spirit heard me. You have the timing, you have the placement, and you have the object. So these physical signs from our guides and angels and loved ones can be so reassuring and proof that we are connected, that our loved ones hear us, that our angels and guides hear us. I have one more feather story because I love this one too. So this was early on in my spiritual journey, and I was in Scotland. And we had taken a tour, and that particular day, we were visiting the Rosslyn Chapel. For those of you who have read the Da Vinci Code, you know it's prominent, but it's a very special chapel. And afterwards, we went and we were walking around the glen, the beautiful glen that surrounds that chapel. And we're following this small path, and we're all kind of in a single file. And I was really excited because I had just found out I can talk to my guardian angel and she'll answer, right? So I'm walking along and I said, okay. I said, if you're here and if you can hear me, I said, can you leave me a feather even here in Scotland? And I said, but I don't want it at my feet. I want you to leave me a feather in a place that I would never expect, and one that I know is from you. So that was my request. I know I'm needy. But so anyway, I'm walking along the path and I come around the corner and there's a tree on my left, and it was this beautiful tree. And the tree had grown into a Y shape. So one branch went off one way and one branch, went off the other way. And as I looked at the tree, right in the middle of the Y was a big white feather standing straight up. Again, divine timing, answering, white feather from my angel. To me, that is undeniable. So, what I do when I see these is I I stand in gratitude. I thank Spirit. Spirit works very hard to send us these signs. So when we acknowledge them, I always say thank you. So, how will you know your sign or from your loved ones? Well, you can do like I did, or like I told my client, have a medium tell you what your loved one is telling you, or you can do this yourself. Sit in meditation. I know some people cringe. Oh my gosh, meditation. I don't meditate. Meditation can be sitting still for 2 or 3 minutes in silence, just quieting your mind and trying to center yourself and clearing your mind. And then when you do that, ask Spirit, can you tell me what my sign is for you? Now, I'm going to use this phrase a lot during my shows because I learned it during one of my workshops. And the teacher told us, when you're in meditation and you think you have received a message or an image or a feeling, ask this question of yourself. Did that come from me or did that come to me? So here's an example. Let's say you're sitting there and you say, Grandmother, I want to know the sign from you. And you're thinking in your mind, in your human mind, oh, maybe she'll send me a sunflower, or a hummingbird, or, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, you either see or smell a rose. You weren't expecting that, right? So that didn't come from you, it came to you. So there's your first clue. So here's then what I do and what I tell my clients. After that, then ask for confirmation so that you get that sign 3 times. So that was the first. You had the smell or the image of a rose. So you say, okay, Grandma, if that's your sign, can you give it to me 2 more times? Now, it will come to you, hopefully, in different ways. For instance, let's say you're out and with a group of people and somebody says, oh, I'd like to have you meet my best friend. Could I introduce you? Her name is Rose. I know, but that counts. So that's 2. And then the third way, let's say you go to your mailbox and there's a card from someone you haven't heard from for a long time, just saying, wanted to write you a note. But on the outside of that card is an image of a rose. So what I'm telling you is the sign will not always be literal, okay? It can come in different ways and different forms. So if we can have the next slide. When I was sitting in meditation and asking Robbie about signs and, what do you want me to know? And again, for those of you listening, I'm showing a blue orb that's that I matched up to what Robbie told me. And he said, Mom, and this is how he said it, the more you believe, the more you believe. So what he was saying to me, is the more that you acknowledge, the more that you are open to these signs, the more you will receive. Again, I tell you, spirit works very hard to come down to our physical and to work with these physical things for us. And so it's like when we acknowledge and we know that, oh, thank you, Grandma, that was from you. I'm so appreciative. Spirit kind of gets excited. They go, yes, they got it. And this is what my son tells me. So then they know they can keep going. They can keep kicking it up a notch. They can keep reaching out to you. And they're so appreciative that you acknowledge them. My son has told me, Mom, I wish more people would talk to us because they hear us. So, always gratitude is always important. Always be happy when you get that sign. Your joy, your laughter, your love is what raises your vibration. Your higher vibration then enables a better connection to the spiritual realm because they vibrate, yes, at a much higher level than we. That's why we can't see them all the time, but we can hear them and feel them and receive their signs. So I said to you earlier, I wanted to say something more about my son. So my son, he sends me dragonflies besides his orb and music. Now, music is another way that they can send us signs. And sometimes you'll be driving along, and I have a story I'm going to share with you in a minute about how Robbie used music for me. But you'll hear a song and you're listening, and maybe you've heard this song hundreds of times before. But then all of a sudden, part of the lyrics jumps out, and you go, wow, I never heard that before. And you had just been thinking about someone. That's a sign too. So acknowledge that. It's not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. I like to refer to it as divine timing. The spirit realm works very hard to bring these things to us. So, of course, another sign from my son is a teal orb. And when I get a teal orb, a lot of times I know that's my son going, hey, Mom, I'm right here in my photographs. So the next slide that I'm going to show you is a picture of my husband and my 3 dogs. All 3 of my dogs are in spirit now. And we're going to go talk about animals next week. I'll go into that more in a minute. But this was my husband's first Father's Day, very first Father's Day without his only son. And I was trying to cheer him up. And so we call him Dog Daddy because he's so good with the dogs. And I said, you know what? On this Father's Day, let me take a picture of you with your, furry grandchildren or your furry kids. And so we tried to line them up, which was an effort, and my husband was there and you can see. And I took the picture and I was shocked. There, right on my husband's forehead, and I talked last time about how placement and location of where the orbs appear in the photograph are also a sign, also a message. But there on his forehead is the Teal Orb. Teal is Robbie. He's saying, in essence, Dad, I know you're thinking about me. I'm thinking about you too. I'm right here. Again, you can't make that up. That was an amazing sign, and it moved my husband to tears. There's no other orbs in that photo, just that one photo right on his mind. Dad, I know that I am in your thoughts. So that was really moving. And there are some more orb stories that I will share as the episodes unfold. So if I can talk to you about, one of the things that Spirit likes to leave us are coins. And again, these are coins in unusual places. It can't be in your wallet or in your back pocket or whatever. These are coins in unusual places. But here's what I tell people. My dad sends me coins. My grandfather sends me coins. And when I see a coin, like I'm walking along through a parking lot, let's say, and I look down and there's a coin. And I go and I look around and, no one else is there. Did somebody drop it? Obviously, right? But it's that person who dropped it, where they dropped it, and the coin that they dropped. So I always acknowledge, I pick up the coin. Before I pick it up, I notice, is it heads up? Is it tails up? Is it giving me a warning? Heads up. You're going to have to watch, be careful, or be aware, or whatever. To me, that's part of the message, part of the sign. And then when I pick it up, I look at the date. Now, here's when I know it's from my grandfather. My grandfather passed in 1965. Those coins are getting harder and harder to find, those pennies. But many times I find a penny and I look at the date and it's 1965. Or even older, it will be the year that he was born. And those are really rare. The other thing that you need to look at or notice is the combination of the coins. The combination of the coins are numbers. Yes. For those of you who are not in numerology, I want to talk a little bit about what I call angel numbers. I'm sure many of you have had experiences where you say, "Oh, I'm seeing 1111 on the clock all the time. Every time I look, it's, 1111 or 511 or 611, or I'm seeing numbers like for my number now, right now, they're sending me every time I look at the clock, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that's literally a stairway. Yes, you're moving up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we're with you. Yes, you are on the right path. So, um, but angel numbers carry special meanings too. Now, I'm not a numerologist, but I have found this site. It's called The Sacred Scribe. And you can go to that site, Google it, and enter in angel number blank, blank, blank. And up will pop the meaning. And let's say you say angel number 444. What does that mean? And it'll say something like, oh, it's a time, or your angels are letting you know that they surround you, they hear you, or, you needed to know this. It's your angels sending you a hug or reassurance. You might be going through something that's difficult, and you just need that extra little reassurance and that extra little hug. And so your angels do that. They let you know, they reassure you through numbers. So I have a quick story about coins and numbers, if I may share that with you. But before I get into that, I do see the questions that you are um, writing into, and I thank you for that. I see I have people from all over the world. Thank you so much for joining me. I will try to get to some of your questions as we go along. For those of you who are listening, if you want to go to my website and you have a question, you can leave me a question there in the contact form, and I will try to answer it on a future show. So thank you. So Kentron said, what spirits do you see and hear most of the time? Most of the time, I hear loved ones who have passed and pets. Every once in a while, I will get an angel. So those are the spirits that I see and hear. He also asked, what do spirits do and experience most of the time in the spirit world? It's a very good question. And in fact, I have asked my son that very question. And we will have a show on that, I promise, of what do spirits do in their world. That would be a whole show. So, okay. So here's my number and my signs story. This is phenomenal to me. Oh, I wanted to say too, the story that I told you about with the feather when I was walking the glen in Rosslyn Chapel, and I told you we were on this small path, and there were people in front of me. No one else saw that feather in the tree until I got to the tree. And I took a picture, and I said, "Didn't anybody else see this?" And they said, "No, we didn't see that." So sometimes spirit will hide things, or I don't know, for lack of a better term, cloak things until it's time for you to see them. So I'm going to go into this story, and I hope I have enough time before break. If not, I'll finish it when we come back. So anyway, I had a bracelet made. It was through my son's instructions, and in fact, I have it on for those of you that see. It's a rather wide cuff type bracelet. I'll explain that to you again in another show. But I had just picked it up, and I put it on for the first time, and I went, "Oh, I love it. I love it." And then I had to go and run some errands. So I went to, I think it was 3 different stores, finished my errands. I get back in the car. I'm driving back home. I look at my wrist, and my bracelet is gone. I was devastated. I had just picked it up. I did a U-turn, and I thought, "Oh my God, if somebody finds this, it's so big, somebody's going to find it. I hope it's an honest person." There are so many good people out there. I was praying to Spirit, "Please, please help me find my bracelet," right? So I go to the first store, I leave my name and number, I traced my steps all through the aisles, nothing. I go to the second store, same thing. I retrace my steps all through the store. I leave my name and number at the customer service and check to see if someone had turned it in. Nothing. I go to the last store, and I'm in line for customer service after I had retraced my steps. And I look down at my feet. And by this time, I'm panicking. I look down at my feet, and there was a penny and a dime. 11 cents. 11. Your angels are with you. I can't tell you, and I have goosebumps right now, even relaying the story to you, what calm came over me. I knew, I had faith, but I knew at that moment I was going to somehow get my bracelet back. So I went up to the lady and I said, "Did anybody turn it in?" "No." "Okay, here's my name and number." 8 o'clock that night, my phone rings, and it's the gal I had left my number. And she goes, "I think I found your bracelet. Can you come to the store?" And I was out the door before I even hung up the phone. Yes. So I went over there, and she said, "You're not going to believe this." There's that. There's that phrase again. And she said, "I went out to collect the shopping carts." And she said, "I never do that. I never collect the shopping carts. We have this young man here that usually does it, but he needed help, so I went out." And she said, "And I moved the shopping carts, and I looked down, and there was your bracelet. It had been there since I think it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and no one had seen it. It was protected. And who found it? The person that I had talked to." So what Spirit was telling me, yes, we heard your prayers. Yes, we're on it. Yes, you're going to get that bracelet back. I was in tears. I was so grateful that, I couldn't thank her enough. And of course, I couldn't thank Spirit enough. So this is when you follow the signs, when you understand the signs, when you trust the signs and have faith in the signs, leave it to Spirit that, okay, I'm on the right track. Everything's going to be okay. So Gail says she gets smells a lot. Would it be loved ones? Yes, because as I said in my earlier story, when you're asking for a sign from grandmother, and all of a sudden maybe you smell a rose, that's a sign. A lot of people will have be walking along or sitting there, and like my dad, he smoked. And if my dad's around me, sometimes I will smell cigarette smoke. None of us smoke. And so, yes, smells are a sign. Absolutely. Signs are not limited. I don't mean to limit Spirit. I never mean to limit Spirit. So whatever your sign is, or whatever you think is your sign, embrace that, because it is. So I wanted to tell you a story. I'm not sure if I have enough time here when I have to go to break. I'm still trying to figure all this out. But I'm going to, okay, it is time for a break. When I come back, we're going to have a few more stories about numbers. And then I'm going to talk about more of the orbs, the angel card reading, and the message from Leonini. See you then.
OMTimes TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. OMTimes Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, OMTimes offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an OMTimes magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on OMTimes TV and broadcasting it across the extensive OMTimes radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. OMTimes. Open yourself to the possibilities.
When I first saw Turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We had this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
We discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
Hi, welcome back. Okay, this story kind of combines a couple of signs, and it involves my son. So I'm going to share this real quick with you. I was driving in my car, and I was driving out to a meeting, and it was for parents who had lost children. And of course, I'm kind of sad, and I'm thinking about my son. And this, again, was kind of early on. And I'm driving along at California freeways, and all of a sudden, this car literally cut right in front of me. I mean, I had to hit my brakes, so I didn't hit him. And I'm getting madder and madder by the minute. And all of a sudden I hear or feel, what does that license plate say? Look at that license plate. And when I looked at the license plate, and I've already told you that my son's number is 333 to me, the license number said 7 ROB 333. My son's name was Rob. And I'll go into the 7 another time. That is also very significant. So I'm going, oh, that was you, Robbie. Okay. And right when I acknowledged Robbie, I'm listening to the radio, of course. What song comes on? An oldie but a goodie, Spirit in the Sky by Norman Greenbaum. That would be my son's humor. So, again, you can't make that up. And what my son wanted me to do was, Mom, laugh. You're getting drugged down. You're getting into the sadness. So he makes me laugh a lot. So, another purpose of signs, yes, is to lift our spirits. Us, not our loved ones in spirit, but to lift our spirits. So, I wanted to tell you, well, I'll tell you one more quick. I think I have time, and I'll make this fast because this just happened. Just this Valentine's Day, as a matter of fact. I go out every night, and as long as it's not inclement weather, raining or whatever, and take orb pictures. I have built up this relationship with the orbs. They expect me there. It's my time to connect and talk to spirit. So it was, I think it was the night before, Valentine's Day, and I'm out there taking pictures, and I kind of half-heartedly said to my son, "Hey, send me a little love here, show up or give me a pink orb or a heart or something, right?" And I didn't get anything. And I went, what's going on? Well, the next day, the doorbell rings and there's a package for me on the front porch. So I pick it up and I was not expecting anything. So I went, what is this? So I open it up and inside was a teddy bear. And it was a teddy bear that was a commemorative Valentine's teddy bear from 2010. 2010 is the year my son passed. And I'm going, okay, how did I get this? and the timing of it. And there's a really funny story about my son and his girlfriend and a teddy bear on Valentine's Day and what he went through to get her this teddy bear. So teddy bear is very significant, but I knew that it was my son who had arranged this, and to be that timing right after I had asked, because I wrote to the company that sent it to me. It was I think it was eBay. And I said, I believe I got this teddy bear in by mistake. And she was so thankful. And she said, my husband sent out the packages and he got the labels mixed up. And somehow in quotes, he got your address and sent it to you. So, that's how another way that our loved ones, especially my son, he has a huge sense of humor, reach out to us to make us laugh. And so, and it did. It made me laugh. And again, I know that that's spirit. I know that, he is right there because he demonstrates this time and time again. Now, I've talked about orbs and orbs that are signs that spirit is near us. I've been taking pictures, like I said, since 2010, and I have quite a collection. But when I first started, orbs were not accepted by many, many traditional people in the spirit business as a communication or as evidence that, these are from spirit. There was many, many people that boo-hooed it. They didn't accept it. They said, it's just dust. It's just rain. It's just snow, or whatever. They tried to explain it away by technological explanations. I worked very hard to prove them, if you will, wrong. One of the ways that I did that was, it by how the orbs appeared, because they, can you get orbs by taking pictures of dust? Can you get orbs by taking pictures of the rain? Can you get orbs by taking pictures into the light and you get lens flare? Yes. And I call those false orbs. And I've worked very, very diligently in my presentations on my website so that you know the difference between what is a real orb and what has been produced because of circumstances, and how it reacts technologically. So when people send me pictures, they said, oh, look, can you see this orb? And I have to tell them, I'm so sorry, but that's not an orb. One of the most common ones that I see is when people have taken their cell phone cameras. I do not use my cell phone camera. I use a little cheap digital camera. And they have pointed their camera into a light source, whether it be a light, a lamp, the moon, the sun, and you see that signature blue or green or red orb, or kind of at the bottom of the picture. That is not an orb. That is what they call lens flare. So, but I'm very careful because sometimes people will do that in certain locations that are very meaningful to them. And they go, well, I think it's an orb. Okay, if you think that's an orb and that brings you comfort, then, you hang on to that. But for me, I think it's a true orb is like when you see faces or when it appears on my husband's head. Can you out there, listeners, get orbs? Yes. I tell people all the time, anybody can get orbs as long as you have the intent. You use the right equipment, which for me is just the cheapest digital camera you can find because they don't have filters, and you always leave the flash on. So I've worked very, very hard to separate what's a false orb and what's a real orb. I get it all the time. Oh, it's just dust. It's just dust. Well, I have seen dust with the images of my brother, with the images of my father, with the images of loved ones of my clients. I have never met an intelligent dust particle that can do that. Dust doesn't do that. Spirit does it. And that's when you know, when that orb is a special color, when that orb is in a special place, when that orb has a special inside to it, whether it be your pet, your loved one, your angel, whoever, then that's when you know that it's spirit. So I have a quick story to tell you. I was heading up to a workshop, and this workshop was being taught by a pretty famous medium. And I was so excited. Again, this was early on in my orb career. And I was so excited to meet this medium and to explain about what I do, and get this medium's opinion. And so in my first introduction, I, in my exuberance, oh, I'm an orb photographer and this is what I do, and the response was, I don't believe in orbs. I don't believe they're from spirit. I was crushed. I was devastated. And I went, okay, spirit, what am I doing here? Why did you bring me up here? Give me this gift. And this medium said, I don't believe in orbs. So here's how spirit answered me, and here's how they worked with me. I was watching the demonstration of this medium, and she was telling us about the description of her guide. And she was saying that he resembled a very elderly, like a Chinese man, with the long, like a kung fu kind of type, Confucius kind of image, if you will. So I'm sitting there in the audience, and she's doing the presentation, and I hear, because spirit will put thoughts in my head, and they're saying, take a picture now. And I'm arguing with spirit in my head. No, I'm not going to stand up with my flash on in the middle of her presentation and take a picture. That would be so disruptive. And they kept after me. And I said, okay, as soon as she's done, I will jump up and take a picture. And so as soon as she finished, as soon as I knew she was done, I jumped up, I took a picture, and yes, there's this huge blue orb just off to the above her head. And when I zoomed in, I was flabbergasted because it was an image of the guide that she had described to us. So I gathered my strength and my courage, and I said, could I please show you something? And I showed her the image and then relayed what it was that I was having this conversation with spirit. And I think that got her on the path of being more open to the prospects of spirit coming in as orbs. It's kind of a new phenomenon. And so it's not as widely accepted, but I work very, very hard to do that. So if you ever send me a picture and say, Nance, what is this? Is it an orb? Please know I will give you my honest opinion. Always know it is only my opinion. If you see or feel something different, then please stay with that. Okay. But I want to talk about, again, the signs and the orbs, about the signs, the placement of the orbs, the placement of your signs. All of that is important. Let me see some of these questions here. What does seeing orbs and the different colors of orbs mean? I went into that a little bit in my first episode, and the colors can mean many different things. Like I just said, teal can, for me, it is my son. Pink can be love. Green can be healing. Blue can be helping you speak. It can be our guides, our teachers. So there's many, many, many different meanings to color and many hues. I have captured, the entire spectrum of color in the orbs. So, but we'll go into that also in another episode. Okay. So at this time, I wanted to pull a card from you as promised. So we have about 10 or 12 minutes left here. So I'm going to shuffle. Today, Spirit told me they wanted me to go. Now I've been reading Angel Oracle cards for about 10 years. And I have 30 or 40 decks. And today, Spirit told me, grab this one. And this one that they're pointing to is my very first deck. It's called Healing with the Angels. And so they wanted me to give you a message. This is for everybody listening. And we will see what Spirit wants to say. This deck has served me well and my clients well. I'm shuffling. I don't know if you can hear that shuffling. They kind of tell me when to stop. One more shuffle here. And then a little bit of like this shuffle. Okay, so I have the card, and so I'm going to turn it over. Okay. For those of you that can see this, I will hold it up to the camera. And it's an angel whispering in a woman's ear. And underneath it says ideas and inspiration. And how perfect. I mean, Spirit just never ceases to amaze me. So this woman sitting in the chair is you. The angel whispering in her ear is Spirit trying to talk to you. You need to listen, because ideas and inspiration are coming to you in many different ways, in many different forms. All we have to do is to open up to it. And like I said, acknowledge it. The more we acknowledge, the more we accept it, the more that we get. And to me, that is the most exciting part, is the more we acknowledge it, the more we accept it, the more we get. Who doesn't want to hear from their loved ones, from their angels, as often as possible? It keeps me going. It really does. And I look forward to it. It really does lift me. Early on, through one of the mediums, my son said to me, "Mom, follow the popcorn." And I said, "What does that mean?" And she said, "He's going to leave you signs. He's going to leave these little nuggets along the path that you're supposed to take. So gather them up as you go, and he will lead you. He will help you. So Spirit will lead you with follow the popcorn." So if we can get that last slide up. And so it says, the universe conspires to reveal the truth and make your path easy if you have the courage to follow the signs. For those of you who are listening again, this is a beautiful orb. I call this, again, my crown jewel. And I found this quote that matched perfectly to it, because it was, and these orbs only appeared for a very short time, but this felt like this quote needs to go. I follow my intuition. So, and it was perfect one for me to choose for today. If you have the courage to follow the signs. That's the other part of this is, somebody told me once, you don't say a prayer and then tell Spirit how to answer it. That's not trust. That's not turning over. Okay, I'm going to follow the signs. I'm going to follow the popcorn. I trust your lead. That's, well, yeah, I'm going to ask you to, but I'm still going to drive the bus. No, have trust in Spirit. Trust that Spirit has nothing but love for you and wants nothing but the best for you. That's what it's all about. We are here to, of course, grow our soul and to expand, but to always do it in a loving way. So I'm just checking to see if there was another thing that I could answer. Again, you can leave that on my website, on my Facebook page, whichever is convenient for you, and I will hope to answer those for you. So I also promised that I would have a message from my guide, Leonini, and I will have an episode talking about guides and my guide and channeling and messages, but that's for another time too. Again, I have so much I want to share with you, so one thing at a time. But for now, I sit and I ask Leonini, would you have a special message for my listeners for this particular episode? Now, remember, this episode was all about signs, the signs that we receive from Spirit. And when I sat down last night, and hopefully as I get more comfortable, I will do this live for you. But right now I'm still trying to get my feet under me, so I do this ahead of time. But here is Leonini's message. Sometimes as you walk up to a storefront and reach to open the door, you may find that door locked. Surprised, you look for the sign that is usually posted in the window, listing the business hours, and find that they seem to be very limited, making it difficult to do business with that store, and you turn and walk away. You post a sign of sorts on your door when you are open to receive and connect with the divine. We too read your sign and try to connect with you when you are open. It can be difficult to increase your spiritual connection if you are not open enough days, or if you are not open for enough hours. When you are open, you let the universe know that you are ready to receive our messages. That openness lets us know that the door to your heart and your mind has been unlocked. We will never force our way in, and we wait for your sign. So she flipped the whole thing over. Here, this whole episode was about getting signs from Spirit. And I have goosebumps because she's going, good job. And when I asked for her message, she said, wait a minute, this is a two-way communication. We wait for your signs as well. So remember that. It's like my son said, Mom, I wished more people would talk to us. And because we hear you. So as I draw to a close, I want to tell you next week, episode, I do the second and fourth Thursday of every month. You can go into the archives. You can go to hear the shows that you've missed. And on my Facebook page, The Orb Connection, or my website, theorbconnection.com. And there's a lot more information on orbs there. But next week, I'm so excited because this is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to talk about animals in spirit, what happens to their soul. Do they have souls? Do we still have a connection with them? How do we know we have a connection with them? We're going to talk about animals perhaps as our guides, as our teachers. We're going to talk about perhaps animals even who are in our soul group, our soul family. Soul families are people or souls that we incarnate with over and over again. I'm also going to talk about animal spirit guides, animal totem guides, animals that come in and out of our lives to help direct us. And I have several beautiful orbs that will demonstrate that. So I really hope that you can tune in to that next one, because I'm super excited. As you can tell, I am a dog person, and I know there are many people out there that are very close to their pets. So hopefully I will be able to bring you some comfort and joy about where your pets in spirit are now. So I want to thank you again. I'm so excited to be able to do this work, to bring this information to you. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that you took away something that helps you on your path. With that, I ask you to go in peace. Don't forget to meditate. And I'll see you next time on the Spheres of Spirit, discussions of the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit that surrounds us. Take care. Bye now.